Hey kids, what time is it?
Hey, it's Edson with GeekTime TV, and here we are. We're at the finale of the Acolyte, episode 8. And I, I was pretty sure I was going to be disappointed, but man, was I disappointed. There was just a finale that didn't give us a lot of answers to a lot of questions that got set up in this TV show. And I know they left a lot of things open because they're hoping for a season 2. Please don't give them a season 2. I just think it's going to be a waste of time, and it's not going to resolve anything, even with the season 2. Bottom line is, the show should have been about, the protagonist should have been this guy here, the Sith Lord, who goes by, I know that's not his real name, Quaimir, I think his name is the Sith Lord. I'll refer to him. And you almost learn nothing about him even at the end of this episode, and it's quite a shame, because I think if you made the show with him as the protagonist, you probably would have had something interesting about it. And like I said, there's just way too many questions left open, continuing with the inconsistencies, even though this show was like much longer than the other episodes. This episode was much longer, almost double the other episodes, and still almost nothing got resolved. So we open up as the last episode ended with Osha with the Sith Lord's helmet on, and she is able to see into the future, or at least she sees a scene of the future where she sees May reaching out to Sol and trying to kill him. She said, and she Quaimir grabs the helmet from her, and she's like, she all of a sudden decides they're gonna go to the planet where she grew up, Brendok, because that's where she thinks that May and Sol are gonna be. And she's right, but it's like you put the helmet on for a second, and all of a sudden you're telling, you're able to tell, seeing visions of the future. That's quite unexplainable, that big jump. But anyways, all of a sudden, she's kind of leading him by the leash and making all the decisions, even though he's supposed to be the master and she's supposed to be the acolyte. I don't know. You also see a glimpse of a dark figure also in the caves, and I think we're supposed to be to think that's Darth Plagueis, which is a connection, of course, to other Star Wars lore. Meanwhile, Sol is having the same kind of issues with May back on his ship, and again, inexplicable things that you can't just resolve. It's almost like one writer wrote the last episode's script, and then another a completely different writer wrote this episode script, and they didn't really get together, because at the last episode, Sol turns off the transponder so the Jedi can't track him, and then he heads off with May, supposedly to find Osha. But now at the beginning of this episode, she's still his prisoner, but he's telling her, "Okay, we're gonna wait here." Looks like he also went back to Brendok, the planet where the girls grew up, or where they were originally from. And he's sitting there and he's explaining to May that, okay, I'm gonna wait for the Jedi here, and I'm gonna finally turn myself, admit to what I did and turn myself in, but which is totally different than what he said in the last episode. That he specifically turned off any kind of tracking so they wouldn't find them. Now he's turning it back on. I don't know. It's just very, very contradictory. So as he's talking, May figures out, or she uses Osha's original mechanical device that she calls her Pip, and somehow is able to instruct this mechanical device, which Sol didn't even think to take away from her, to how to get rid of her binders. And I don't know how she did it with any kind of non-verbal commands, telepathically. I don't know. So she escapes. She even uses him to I guess use as a taser for him, knock Sol down. Then she goes into an escape ship, takes off towards the planet. Or actually, they chase each other. Sol on the ship, and her on the escape ship, chase each other. Some kind of, it looks like an asteroid field, maybe. It's kind of senseless. And as he's catching up to her, Basil, that little tracker that they were using, he's still hanging around. For some inexplicable reason, he sabotages the ship so that he can't catch up can't catch up to May. Why? What was the point of him doing that? What is his motivation to stop Soul from catching up to May? I have no idea. They never come back to that. Completely open ended. Never see the tracker again, and I don't know why. What is the point of that? I guess he read the script and he did what he was told. Although I don't know how he could read the script. He's going to need someone to translate it into his language, because if the script is in English, he doesn't understand it. So I don't get why he sabotaged the ship, having been on the Jedi side all this time. So May makes it to the planet, kind of crash lands, but there's no tension about whether she's going to survive or anything happen to her, because there was never any tension on crash ships during this show. Everybody's going to be okay. Soul follows her down. Then Osha and Quaimir make it there, and somehow they kind of separate each other, where Soul gets into a fight with the Sith Lord, and the two sisters are off somewhere else, away from them, and they get into a fight. Now, this lightsaber battle between Soul and the Sith Lord, there's some really good choreography with this. It's a pretty good battle in some instances, some pretty good moves and stuff like that. But the fight between the two sisters, it's really horrible. It's a hand-to-hand fight, and it's very discombobulated. I don't even know what the purpose of the two fighting. Nothing comes out of it. You don't even know how it ends or anything like that. So Soul proves that he's a better fighter than, at least with a lightsaber, than the Sith Lord. Destroys the Quaimir's lightsaber, and has him. He points his lightsaber, just like you see here, at his throat, and he just kind of stands there threatening him. I mean, I never think that he's actually going to go and do anything to him, because he just has him there helplessly. It's kind of just like he just stands there pointing his lightsaber at him for a while, and then after, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds or a minute, May comes running in and takes him completely by surprise. I don't know how she takes him completely by surprise. He should have seen her coming, or should have sensed her coming for a Jedi Master. Not only does she take him completely by surprise, she takes him down, not with a lightsaber or any kind of weapon. She just takes him down, fighting, and relieves him of his lightsaber, and grabs a hold of it. I mean, that's kind of unbelievable to me. How even if he is surprised, for her to be able to just yank his lightsaber from him, I don't know. So then she is asking him to admit to what he did, which she already knows what he did, and which is killing Osha and May's mother, which we saw in last week's episode. Which he does admit just in time to have Osha come into the picture. I don't know how the girls even got separated, because they were fighting, but then Osha does show up just as and then he admits to her that yes, he was the one who killed her mother. But by the way, when he did, she was turning into some kind of black smoke and looked like she was threatening to fight them. So it was kind of almost like self-defense that he did it. But anyways, that seems to completely break Osha against any kind of against that kind of completes her against the Jedi. And knowing that finally, I think she should have known this before, but he didn't want to admit it. I think what he explained to her, that why he didn't admit it to the High Council that he did kill the mother, was because he didn't want, May wasn't around, and there was no way he could explain that that her mother had used the Force in some really bad way to create them, create the two girls out of one, and there's no proof of that. Well, guess what? All the readings that they took, all the blood work that they had, and all the testing that they did actually did prove that. So I mean, that's kind of a flimsy excuse. So OSHA picks up his lightsaber, but doesn't use it. And at first she's like, well, I want to take him. I'm gonna take him into wait for the Jedi to get there because they just saw a ship coming in, and Vanessa Rowe, along with a bunch of Jedi's showing up. But before that happens, she decides that, and here it is. She decides that she's going to kill him by choke him with the Force. And I knew one of these things was going to happen. I knew it. It's one of those things where, as I said earlier in previous episodes, they want to have these characters do like recreate some of the classic scenes from the original Star Wars movies. And here she is, when we saw Darth Vader actually choke another person, one of the soldiers, and kill them with a Force. Here she is, and of course this character is chronologically before Darth Vader, because this show takes place before it, and it shows her doing that before him, technically speaking. Of course, it's not true. And suddenly, this character, Osha, who, number one, never got past Padawan training, number two, has not had anything to do with Force training for the last, I don't know, 10 years, I think. And just because she spent a day with the Sith Lord, all of a sudden she's like, becomes the most powerful with a Force of all these characters. She's able to use the Force to choke Soul and kills him. I'm sorry, it's just, that's not gonna happen. And nothing even gets explained of how exactly her mother used the Force to create the twins out of one person. That doesn't get explained. So I don't know. You don't even get the explanation of also how Quimir even got involved with the girls in the first place. What happens is, after Soul dies, they know they have to get out of there because Vanessa Rowe with a bunch of Jedi are going to show up, and they're going to take them in, so they take off. And they go off into the woods, and there's this stupid kind of emotional, all of a sudden these girls who are like completely against each other throughout this whole series, all of a sudden they're like, best friends again. And May, who was the one who, by the way, okay, Soul is responsible for killing their mother, but May is responsible for killing a bunch of other people, the rest of the witches cult, by setting the fire. And she starts bawling and says to Osha, "Oh, I'm sorry, I set the fire." And all of a sudden, everything's okay. It's okay that you did that. You murdered a bunch of people, but that's okay. You're forgiven, and they're best friends again. Now they got to figure out what they're gonna do. The Sith Lord says to them he can, he can help with that. So Osha offers to, knowing what he wants, Osha offers to be his acolyte. Although at this point, she's clearly shown she's much more powerful. What would be the point of being his acolyte? I don't know. So she offers to go with him back to the planet that he lives in, and if they, she says she'll go with him if she lets May go, but of course they can't just leave May around with to be able to give all the information that she knows of this planet and of them to the Jedi, because the Jedi are going to show up and get her. So his suggestion is to mind wipe her, take all her memories away from like way back, like since when they were little kids. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you have a plan that you're going to take Osha back and you're going to be able to escape the Jedi. How about just taking May with you? That way all three of you are safe. You're away from the Jedi. You obviously have a plan to get away, which they actually did. How about take all three of you and then figure out, if May wants to go her separate way, that's fine. If she wants to stay, maybe you could have two apprentices or two acolytes, whatever. But no, they decide that May has to stay behind and get caught by the Jedi for some reason. He uh, wipes out her memories so that she doesn't remember anything. I think she admits that she says that her last memory was some kind of fire or whatever. So it's back when they were like little girls. And so Vanessa Rowe takes her back to Coruscant, and all of a sudden she's a victim. You know, she's spent all this time in the show killing people, and she set the fire that killed. And all of a sudden, Vanessa Rowe's like, "Oh, you poor girl, you've been through so much," and it kind of like, I was like so fed up with it, so over this. It's like kind of like a lot of what happens today when someone does something wrong and other people try to find out, try to justify it by the fact that there's some kind of victim for some reason. Nobody wants to to bring justice to anyone for committing crime. They somehow try to find if they're in the if they have the right political opinions or they're in the right groups or the right opinions and go along with what certain people think. All of a sudden you find excuses and you say how they're victims of society, and that's okay, and that makes it okay that they committed all those crimes, and that seems to be like what's happening here as well. um, so so May is with the Jedi back in Coruscant, but she's not being she's being let go. She's not going to be held accountable for anything she did in this whole show, which was totally meaningless. I don't get it. I did forget to say that May tells Osha how we did get this answer, how she survived the fire. She somehow got down into this access hatchway or this tunnel underneath the place where they lived, and somehow went through this tunnel and made it out into the forest, and that was it. There's no kind of special explanation of how she escaped or anything. Nothing about how did the Sith Lord Qui-Mare even run into her. I mean, was he just like randomly patrolling the universe looking for someone that was force sensitive and just and that whole huge galaxy ran into her? Nothing about that. That was completely left up in the air. So yeah, another question not resolved, another mystery not resolved. So again, May's with the Jedi, not being held accountable. Osha is now the acolyte that the Sith Lord wanted, and we still don't know anything about. We only got a very quick glimpse of Darth Plagueis in this planet. That should have been there should have been a lot more of him and a lot more into the background of this Sith Lord. If you wanted to get a little bit of a satisfaction out of this show. Also, you do at one point when Vanessa Rowe gets to Brendock, you get the sense that she realizes that Qui-Mare is alive, and you get a sense that there's a connection between them, thus making it more believable that she was the one that left that scar on his back, and obviously there was a conflict in it. I'm not sure if he was her Padawan, but that's what I think the implication is. But again, that doesn't get resolved at all either. Another thing left up in the air where there was just almost no resolution at all from this show, and it's quite a shame. It's just $180 million budget down the drain. And then the very last episode, or the very last scene, Vanessa Rowe kind of, she in showing true Jedi integrity, she completely lies to them, or at least she lies to the Senate, saying that this whole thing was all Master Soul going rogue, and he committed all these atrocities. He's the one who killed all the witches and caused all this problems, and just dumps the whole thing on him, of course, because he's not there to defend himself anymore. So she doesn't want to take any accountability for it. And in the very last scene, you think they're trying to give maybe classic Star Wars people something, but it's meaningless. In the very last scene, you see kind of like her showing up, and it's obvious that she's meeting with Yoda, because you see Yoda from the back, and she starts by saying that there's so much to talk about, and supposedly she's going to tell Yoda the truth of what really happened. But if she does tell him what really happened and that there's like a Sith Lord out there, then why is it that and the prequels and the Phantom Menace they say that there hasn't been Sith in over 1,000 years? So that again, very confusing. Like I said, this last episode just kind of it's the same stuff as we've seen in many other episodes. Characters going completely out of character or contradicting, changing, doing 180 from one thing to another, from one scene to another, and it's just like very hard to know the motivations of these characters. They're very hard to like really get into these characters or even like root for these characters. I mean, why not just make the show where the protagonist is as a Sith? That would be interesting. You make this guy Quaimere or the Sith Lord the actual protagonist, and you could have done something with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a story where the I guess the villain is the protagonist, and that's fine. I mean, it still could have been interesting, but no, you make these two characters, these twins, Osha and May, who like are not real. They're like kind of cardboard characters. You make them the main characters, and it's like the show is, I think, is like pretty much a complete failure. Anyways, that's it. I mean, I'm done with this. I really hope they don't give it a second season. I don't care. I know I've said they didn't answer a lot of questions, but I don't care. I'd rather them not just spend any more money on this, because it's never going to be, never going to be a satisfying end anyway. So, all right, yeah, I'm done with this, and I'm just very disappointed in this show. Let me know what you think about the show. I don't know. Anybody out there find it was actually good? Let me know. Okay, that's it from me. So glad the show is over. Let's move on to something else. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching GeekTime TV. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure to check the little bell icon anytime someone from our network drops new content here. Want some GeekTime swag? Check out the merchandise available in the GeekTime TV store, linked in the channel description below. Share GeekTime TV with friends, and as always, thank you for your support. We'll see you soon.